every game of Carolina Death Crawl I've ever played has been the best game of Carolina Death Crawl that I have ever played.
That voice is our new pal Walt down in Florida talking about Carolina Death Crawl, a Southern Gothic role-playing game where your characters have been abandoned by their units behind Confederate lines at the height of the Civil War, and only one of them is going to make it back. Maestro, please.
Half-past despicable, last man to bring it through fast raps and critical stack, analytical slap. I'm hitting you smack. I'm sticking you smack lips to stack chips, all with the lyrical technique for party crashes, liquor spilling mayhem.
I sure am glad you are here for episode 96 of Breakup Gaming Society, a podcast about board games, booze, and hip-hop. I'm your host, the Great Unclean One, coming to you from Starkville, Colorado. Here's what's on tap for this installment. Drink of the week. I made contact with the most excellent Walt, who helps people develop indie tabletop role-playing games under the banner of the Bogfolk Co-op, and also writes extensively about these games on his Līber Lūdōrum blog. I thought we were just going to talk about games, but he got a taste of Drink of the Week segment and wanted in on that too. So we each made our own variant of a lemonade-vodka-beer punch. Game of the week. It's Carolina Death Crawl. It's one of the grimmest games you've ever heard about, shown to you by one of the most gracious tour guides you could ever hope to meet. He's the last voice you'd want to hear as you expire, blank with dehydration and pelagic fever under a palmetto tree. Track of the week. Walt picked this one out too. It's Feather by Nujabes, featuring Cise, Starr, and Akin from Sign. It's a 2005 track from an act that was totally off my radar. If you want a groovy extension of the Herbaliser track I looked at last week, you're probably going to feel good during this one too. Couple other quick highlights before we dive into that pool full of ice, beer, vodka, and lemonade. One, I found out my friend Justin Cram on LinkedIn, a veteran copywriter who just launched his own agency called Shit Show Creative, played the classic World War II war game Axis and Allies as a kid. I've never played. I was a little jealous and wanted to hear about it, so I interviewed him. That's how it starts, but it doesn't stay there for long. I found myself on the mic with an incurable raconteur with a mind even more restless than my own. We get into everything from his childhood as a hotel brat to a discussion on whether or not it's possible to rage quit 21st century capitalism's endgame. That audio is on the blog now at breakupgamingsociety.com. And as always, I've still got a cocktail booklet and a Defiant Frog sticker as thank you gifts for people who support the show with a one-time pitch-in. Tack on some postage, and that swag bag also includes a pic from my 1980s comic book box. Details on the donate page. Begging makes me thirsty. Here comes Drink of the Week with Walt.
I kicked it, yup, I kicked it. Come on, you couldn't bang with this if your name was Genghis Khan.
This is going to be a very special Drink of the Week segment and Game of the Week segment because Walt going to ride along with this. And I found Walt through his blog. I apologize in advance for the pronunciation. Līber Lūdōrum.
Nailed it.
Thank you. Walt is a wit, a writer who reviews RPGs and helps develop them. How am I doing so far, Walt? You want to finish this boilerplate? Help me out.
Yeah, I'm Walt. I blog at Līber Lūdōrum. I review RPGs and write essays about them. And my day job is actually editing RPG manuals. So I'm way deeper into this hobby than anyone healthy should be.
And that's one of the reasons which made having you ride along today very appealing, because while I did some dabbling in the burgeoning indie tabletop role-playing game scene 3-4 years ago, and this is, I remain an admirer of the scene. I love reading about it. I love knowing people who do it. But oddly enough, Walt, we don't have to dive into this now. Dabbling in those games just made me realize how much I loved board games. So, however, I still love the scene. It's still, every time I peek over the fence, it still looks like that. It gives me that feel of being 13 back in 1983 during the American hardcore explosion. It feels just like that to me, except better written. And you know, and it also, I have a theory. This scene is a DIY masters in writing program for people who have no stomach for the MFA scene.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment.
It's a lazy generalization based on limited observation, is what it is. But I wanted to ask you: do you think I'm right?
Yeah, definitely. Like, obviously not as formal as an MFA program, but there is a lot of that where it's just a lot of people circulating their own creative work and other folks giving them feedback on it based on just how it reads, also how it plays. And it definitely has sort of that community-wide workshop, like you said, DIY ethos and feel to it.
And, the DIY appeal to me as a podcaster and blogger is that failed to see the sense in working my ass off on a piece, getting it where I wanted, and now saying, okay, now all I have to do is ask 20 MFAs with trust funds whether or not they want to publish it. And I was like, or in the same amount of time, 20 of my friends could read it. That's cool. Publish.
I can tell you which one you're going to get better feedback from.
Right. So my view, the sense I get of that scene is the modern lit fic and related scenes. It's a MFA with a trust fund presiding over a gymnasium of MFAs without trust funds. And
I mean, to a certain extent, I just don't think anyone in the scene actually has a trust fund. Otherwise, they'd be doing something else.
Well, what else to do except set up a little lit mag and install yourself, some sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Satrapy in the literary world, where you rule, and moreover, you can decide who else is good enough to be in Hello Crocodile, your chat book. But I didn't want to open this with a tirade. So I want to talk a little bit about how Drink of the Week came about. So I was talking to Walt, who I wanted to share with our readers and our listeners. This is going to happen during Game of the Week. I was like, Walt, you're neck deep in this stuff. Why don't you recommend some really cool indie TTRPGs that you feel didn't get the attention they deserved? He has a long list of these. We're going to talk about one of them during Game of the Week. But God bless him, and this marks him as the ideal guest. He messaged me back and saying, so what's up for Drink of the Week? I'm like, oh, you want to ride? Okay. So,
oh, yeah.
I just for the fun of it, I looked up some beer cocktails, and the first thing I found was pink lemonade beer punch thing, which I guess the person who wrote the blog says it originated in a sorority or something, which I find believable.
Yes.
The components it called for were frozen pink or raspberry lemonade concentrate, vodka, and beer. I'm like, that sounds like it would work very well and isn't a lot of trouble. And so Walt and I each went about assembling our own versions of this. And I don't know, Walt, talk about your version.
Yeah, so I went to the store with one plan that did not survive contact with the store. And I came home with a can of Big Boy Blue mango and blueberry lager from Florida Avenue. And I gave that a little sip before I mixed it into the drink, and it tastes more like ale than it does mango or blueberry, but I'm okay with that. And I got generic pink lemonade concentrate from Winn-Dixie. While I was looking for a good vodka, I found Haku from Suntory. It is a white rice vodka, and I'm a fan of Japanese liquor, so I grabbed it, and I was not disappointed. I am not a vodka drinker, but this stuff is really nice.
I take it you took a nip of that before blending it.
Oh, I took a nip of that on Wednesday when I bought it.
My man, 50 grand. So I think I'm willing to bet it tastes very clean.
It is incredibly clean. It is bamboo charcoal filtered, and there's barely any bite to it. It doesn't have that typical vodka taste, and it has, I hesitate to call it sweet because it's not sugary, but there is just a hint of sweetness to it.
Nice. So I think you've got one mixed now, if I've been following along. Do you want to talk about what these things are all like in the aggregate?
The pink lemonade concentrate really overwhelms the beer's flavors. And like I said, you can't really taste the vodka to begin with, even on its own. So this very dangerously just tastes like drinking slightly fizzy pink lemonade. And I'm going to regret it tomorrow morning.
Yeah, right? Happiness today, sugar headache tomorrow. I feel like this is the kind of thing you'd drink if you had just pledged Tridel at a major Midwestern school, and you have finally, after 4 of them, worked up the confidence to fillet your best friend's boyfriend in a gazebo, and and you're about to start a schism in Tridel that's going to ripple across 4 other campuses. That's what I feel like this thing is kind of. What's that word? What's that school of philosophy that talks about things in context of their purpose? I can't access the dictionary in my head, but in either case, so on this side of the fence, I just happen to have a big jug of not very clean tasting Stoli sitting around from the last time I made the Ruthless Megatron Bloody Mary, which requires a lot of vodka. And I had it sitting around. I'd like keeping Stoli around because it's a little mean. And I like it when I just don't feel right unless, something's just up and mean to me once in a while for no reason. So I got the Stoli, and Walt, like you, I went out to the two grocery stores around here. Not one pink or raspberry lemonade on offer anywhere. Matter of fact, Walmart didn't even have regular lemonade. So I ended up with limeade. So I've got the limeade and the Stoli. And 1 second. And for the beer, I opted. So I've got lime going. So what works with that? I grabbed a couple cans of Breckenridge Brewery Juicy Oasis, which is a tangerine vanilla IPA that brags 9.6 ABV. So if the flavors don't work, the constituent elements will.
You won't care for long,
right? So and I don't. So tell me how you mixed yours, because I kind of winged it with some things I thought that would make the flavors better. But did you just stir it all into a pot and put it on ice?
More or less. My first plan was blender, but I really underestimated the capacity of my blender. There was a small explosion incident, and then I just put it in a pitcher and mixed it with a wooden spoon.
Nice. For this one, I decided. So I just let the limeade last night. I just let it thaw in my fridge, and I got out a goblet because I didn't want to mix up a batch. It's just going to be me here today. So I was trying to kind of wing it and figure out what a single application might be, so I don't mix a jug. Yeah, I filled this little beer goblet with ice. Then I put about just a tablespoon of the raw concentrate in with an ounce of vodka. And then I poured the beer in on top of that and gave it a stir and went for it.
So how did yours come out?
The first few sips, honestly, I just tasted like it felt like I was drinking a weak beer and ice. I got the primary note coming across was the tangerine from the Juicy Oasis, which was not unpleasant, but there wasn't anything particularly salient to recommend it either. The only thing that really got me, Walt, was the fact that I knew that lurking there, like a sledgehammer for a counterblow, was an ounce of vodka floating in that beer. I'm like, I'm not going to care in two more. And but here it is. I'm about a third of the way through the drink, and the limeade is starting to assert itself, and it's quite pleasant. Now I think it feels like it's more shoving out the tangerine rather than synthesizing with it. But dude, it hit over 90 today. What do I care? If it wasn't for this, I would just be drinking Michelob Ultras or something.
Right. And I do have to admit, this is a pretty refreshing summertime drink. It's about the same temperature here. Yeah, this definitely feels like something that back in undergrad we would have mixed up and had a summer pool party on one weekend.
Yeah. About once when we hit peak summer heat, I just bodily stopped wanting any dark liquors, and I usually make a vodka cooler or two, and it's hard to go too wrong with them because, like I said, the vodka is neutral or clean. It's cold. It's cold as hell. It packs a wallop, and there's usually some sweetness going on too. So I can't. The floor on these seems pretty high in terms of this time of year and enjoying them.
I agree. And unlike you, I was a fool and made a whole pitcher, so I've got a lot to enjoy.
Do you have any neighbors who you want to see make fools of themselves?
No, I actually like them, but I'm sure they would be entertained by me making a fool out of myself.
Yeah, I just want to see that. I just want to see video of you just clambering over their back fence with the pitcher in hand and alighting in the middle of their, landscaping without having spilled the drop, and be like, "So, what are you guys doing?"
I don't know if I can get over the fence, but maybe I can strap the pitcher to the cat and send her over.
I'm liking this plan more and more all the time. If I were ever to look in my driveway and see a cat towing a relief cart of cocktails, I don't know what I'd do. I would be speechless with joy for weeks. Yeah, so
If we ever get hit by a hurricane again, I want to see that. I don't want food. I don't want pallets of water. I want a cat towing a little cart with liquor in it.
I think we can take this concept places, Walt. This sounds not only aesthetically correct but profitable too, which is the kind of thing that attracts me. And yeah, I don't think I can solve it now, but I feel like I did enough variance on what this thing was supposed to. It certainly isn't pink lemonade anything that maybe between the two of us we should be able to name these things by the end of the episode. But right now, honestly, I've got nothing. It's cold. It's giving me a buzz. That's enough.
Good enough for me too. That's pretty much all I ask out of any drink.
Fair enough. So how about this, Walt? Do you want to ad hoc the bumper for the Game of the Week segment? You want to segue us?
Oh God, what should I do?
Just tell them that we're about to do Game of the Week.
Hey everyone, huge surprise because I know you weren't just listening to what we said previously. It's time for Game of the Week.
Fucking A.
I kicked it, yup, I kicked it. Come on, you couldn't bang with this if your name was Genghis Khan.
So as Walt promised us seconds ago, this is Game of the Week. And here's another reason why I wanted to hear about your take on some really cool indie role-playing games that didn't get enough love is because A, maybe one or two people will gradually realize that there's something besides Dungeons and Dragons. Do you think more people would know it by now, but they don't? Secondly, you seem to be drawn to the kind of titles I was drawn to when I dabbled in this back in 2021. Played a little bit of Dead Bell by a couple of Drakes.
Mm-hmm.
I bought Frontier Scum and I bought Cyber Metal 2012.
Yep. I have both of those last two on my shelf as well. I actually have like 3 copies of Frontier Scum.
Wow. And so, yeah, when I saw these titles you recommended, I said, oh, this is going to go swimmingly. So are we going to talk about the game or the dildo first? Because I really want to talk about this, one of the games on your list.
I don't know. I really want to talk about the dildo.
Proceed.
All right. So you actually know half this story, but apparently my friend Tom once found a dildo standing in a parking lot. Guess he was in Wales, where he usually is because he doesn't go anywhere. So just to get a reaction out of the staff of the store, he goes inside and tells them about it. Apparently, a few minutes later, the manager walks out with a pair of tongs and a trash bag. And what I gather, it was Christmas time, so the dude is dressed as an elf. So he goes out to the parking lot and is trying to pick up this errant dildo with a pair of tongs and put it in the trash bag.
Okay, the picture just had prosthetic member in question, but the elf and the tongs. Okay, now I understand why you wanted this tangent. That's good.
Actually, Tom wanted it. But I asked why there wasn't a picture of the manager doing that, and apparently Tom didn't have his camera. He was with a friend who had his, and at that point the friend was off somewhere else in the store, trying not to laugh. And I believe, as he said, if he did, he was going to shit himself, which is understandable.
There you go. So if you're listening, Tom, hope you're fucking happy.
You're welcome, Tom. No,
yeah,
thank you.
You're welcome. This drink is getting more and more limeade as it goes down. And I can't say that I think maybe the next one I mix, I might try 2 tablespoons of the limeade and just try to let this fancy beer get in where it fits in, because this just feels like a vodka limeade right now. I'm rewinding. So out of the list of games that you showed me who you want to give more shine, I stuck on the very first one, Carolina Death. Here's why.
Yeah.
In the last year, I really got the historical war game bug bad. And not bad, but I've been playing a lot more of it, reading about it a lot more. And just recently, I cannot remember which publisher or the name of the title off the top of my head. There's a game where you play the Union spies and commandos that had to go down into rebel-held territory and steal a damn train. I guess they actually pulled it off in real life, and they could have been hung or shot or found out any step of the way. But this board game reenacts that. So I'm reading about the games you gave me, and the first thing I see was about trying to escape from Confederate lines and taking cues from a deck of cards. And I thought, that sounds like an adventure. Why don't we just start there?
Yeah, and I'm thrilled too, because every game of Carolina Death Crawl I've ever played has been the best game of Carolina Death Crawl that I have ever played.
it's so good that it, if not ranked, it at least just erases the memory and you're in a whole new world.
Yeah, it's just it seems like it's very on rails, but it has so much replayability that every time you go through the story, it has like the same 4 settings. It's going to be a completely different story based on the characters and the cards and everything. And it just, it's really, really fun every damn time.
Just for the benefit of anyone, I guess, do you want to just elevator pitch my 2 listeners? What is Carolina Death Crawl and how does it work?
Yeah, so another reason I'm really glad to start with this one, because I think it'll be more accessible to people who are more familiar with board games and card games, because the entire thing is card-based. You don't have a character sheet with numbers on it. You don't have to roll any dice. All you do is read some cards and then play some at certain points in the game. But the premise is, like you said, 1863 during Potter's Raid on New Bern, and all of the players are playing characters who are Southern-born Union soldiers who have deserted their cavalry company behind enemy lines. The substance of the game is following Potter's Raid. You have to catch up with your company and escape being in Confederate territory.
Now, a lot of cooperative games on the board gaming side have a mechanic where they make it dire. They say you either all fail together or succeed together. Is it one of those?
No, this is actually... It's overall competitive, but obviously players are going to have to cooperate with each other to a certain extent. Because when you play cards during scenes, at the end of the act, after everybody has had their one scene, you'll total up the number of points that you've earned, and the person with the lowest points gets knocked out of the game, which isn't entirely accurate because you're still in the game. You can still play NPCs, and you can still play cards because you're technically a swamp ghost who's haunting your former comrades. So there will be a clear winner at the very end, and I have seen it get pretty cutthroat at the end.
Fantastic. I didn't realize, every time I see one of these things, I assume it's a pure co-op experience, but there's a winner and 3 losers who die. Wow, that somehow makes it better.
I love it because, you're collectively telling a story with your friends, but at the same time, everybody's subtext is, I need to beat these assholes.
To make parallels to the board game world, if I could think of one thing in my experience that even sort of mirrors it, it would be Plaid Hat Games' Dead of Winter.
Is that the zombie one?
Yep.
Yes. I played that many years ago when I got it for a friend for Christmas.
And it actually tries to do some narrative with the crossroads cards. Like, are we going to save this horse or eat it? You have to decide. And,
yeah.
Sometimes, and nobody knows, A, if there's a traitor, B, how dire their objectives are. Some just kind of throw sticks in the spokes because they're neurotic and they hoard medicine. Others are actually want to destroy the colony, and you won't find out late. That was my first taste of a pretty well realized quasi co-op competitive game with a traitor mechanic. But
there isn't really I guess everyone's potentially a traitor. Like, there's nothing that says that you have to play nicely. There is one rule that you're not allowed to kill your character or someone else's player character during the game, except when you total up points at the end of the act. But there's nothing stopping you from going at each other's throats whenever you want to.
And you talked about how good these sessions are. Do you want to just walk me through one in recent memory where the twists and turns just made it an unforgettable stay at the table?
Oh my God. Actually, the last time I played it, it's actually been a couple years. I had a Forbidden Lands game that we did every week, and 1 week one of our players couldn't make it, so the rest of us still got together and we played Carolina Death Crawl. It was just absolutely unhinged, to the point that the next day I remembered everything that happened so well that I wrote it down so I would never forget it. I remember the leader of the company was a sergeant. He was a Southern aristocrat who wasn't rich enough to buy himself an officer's commission, so he joined as an enlisted, and he was on a one-man mission to destroy everyone else's wealth so that he would be richer by comparison.
That is a lot of extra thinking to do while you're hiding in swamps from Confederate patrols.
Well, the nice thing is there's a little bit of a wind-up session at the beginning where you read some background cards in character, and that gives you a little bit to base your character off going forward. Then there's the raid cards, which everybody gets one short little vignette where they say what they're doing during the inciting incident. So it can build a little bit more character for everybody else at the table. But I'm pretty sure between those two is how he came up with that concept of what he was doing and where he was going. And it started out with him burning a pile of worthless Confederate banknotes.
So talk to me about characters. Are there like character templates you're handed? Are there classes upon which you add meat to the skeleton, or do you invent them whole cloth? How does the character stable work?
Yeah, so that's one thing that I really love about this is at the beginning, everyone at the table will take 2 cards and give one to the person on their left and one to the person on the right. And each of those cards is going to be a first name, a rank within your company, and some kind of descriptor. Like the one I have right here is Pembroke the Bugler, and the descriptor is the Greenhorn. And then the other one will be a last name and another descriptor. So right now I have got Ross Tucker, and he's an idealist. And on each of them, there's like a little prompt. On the first name, there's one for Pembroke, for example. It says, make a best friend and risk your own life to save theirs. On the last name, there's a question. What did you and the character to your left do that scarred you forever? So whenever you can work one of those work the prompt into a scene or answer the question within a scene, you flip that card over and you gain points. So those add up to your points for the act, and it's one of those ways that you can keep from getting knocked out and having your character killed. It's really like that's the extent of the character. Like those are your prompts, your basis, and anything else you come up with is entirely your own. But they're all just so concise, but also so very open-ended that there's just so much that you can do with them. And unlike a lot of role-playing games where the role-playing in the character is entirely freeform, this gives you something concrete to work off of, and then it rewards you when you actually play that character rather than, like, here are my 6 stats and I'm chaotic neutral or whatever. And then the DM just gets to decide whether or not you get experience points for playing that, in their opinion.
Yeah, it seems a lot of RPGs, when given your former example, could become shapeless and meandering, which is what. So I like adventure and pick up and deliver themed board games with RPG elements for that reason. They're evocative to me. When I used to play Merchant of Venus with my friends in Colorado Springs, I actually felt like I was some happy-go-lucky fail son with a ship trying to rebuild a war system. And I think one of the things you could carry around, you could deliver to formerly war-torn planets, was rock videos. and I was like, this is wonderful. And the game kind of drags on, but it had such a vibe. And I think, I don't know, you can speak to this better than I can, but I'm thinking that must seem to be so much of the art of crafting things like these, is to figure out where to step in as the authorial guardrail creator of the book, and how to design little junctures that have explosions of personality and improv without having a bunch of people getting into an argument over whether or not, like you said, what a person is doing is in keeping with their chaotic neutral alignment, or and maybe I'm wrong here too, but I've, at least around here, when I eavesdrop on a D&D game, I just think y'all just need to pick up Gloomhaven, man. I swear to God, you'd be 3 times as excited that they left a lot of the world building and the interactions up to you, and see, that's our problem. And I know that sounds snobby, but I'm sorry, these tables were not alive. They did not sound excited. They were gossiping about their players, about like what they were going to do after the game. And so I was like, that's why I default back towards board games, because they are designed to force you to some kind of arc. And to me, at least, it's evocative. I've been playing Squad Leader from 1977 with a friend from Australia. Yeah. And I think this is one of the reasons I've gravitated to the combat games, is because the flavor of the milieu and the emergent narrative are both so vivid. And because these games in their simulative aspects do model the chances of the battlefield, it's absolutely hysterical when team that you've had operating a heavy machine gun gets a random peppering of fire and they all freak out and run at the critical moment. And so you're like, you're just having a huge laugh. And there's even a rule that for Russian unit in this scenario rolls a 12 on a morale check, they go berserk, and the next movement phase they will charge directly at the nearest enemy unit, and it usually doesn't go well, especially if enemy unit has multiple machine guns. But it was
Oh, I was going to say that's something that I love seeing in RPGs, and specifically, Carolina Deathcrawl was designed by a fellow named Jason Morningstar, who went on to design Fiasco, which some people hopefully have heard of. It was an award winner back in the day. But a big part of Fiasco is at the midpoint of the game, there is a giant twist that throws a monkey wrench into everything. And I love seeing that in games like you were talking about with like, well, they failed their morale test and now the machine gunners are running away. And so what does that do to everyone else's strategy and the story? And how does it affect everything that comes afterward, having to deal with this sudden unexpected twist? And I love seeing that. And I don't often see RPGs that support things like that. Like they just expect the GM to understand story structure and plot twists and implement it on their own with no formal mechanics to implement it and no real instruction in your game master's guide on when to do it, how to do it, and what the effects should be. So I agree with you. Like that's some of my favorite moments in gaming is when something completely out of the blue happens and upends the session and everyone, including the game master or the referee, is just left struggling to figure out, okay, so how do we handle this from here?
Uh-huh. And then that leads me to ask, is Carolina Deathcrawl a GM-less game?
It is. You do not need a GM to play it. You just need a few friends.
One of these days. So, yeah, and that's one of the reasons I gave up. I made 3 characters for Carl Druid's Frontier Scum. I had a great time making them too. And when I bought that in Cyber Battle 2012, I was like, I kind of didn't care if I ever got to play them. I just wanted to own these artifacts. The amount of care and vision that they execute on the pages of those books, I'm like, oh my God, that is just so sexy. I have to have it. And this is why I also, as I would like to do, get together and discuss more titles from your list. I would like you to counteract my natural bias, which is to go for stuff that has slick presentation and overlook the more punk rock mimeograph looking ones that might in fact be the time of our lives. So I would like to get together again, do another game of the week where you talk about the next and leave that up to you, because I'm going to pick all the ones with the lush illustrations and the embossed type every time.
I mean, that's fair because that's how I got back into RPGs and indie RPGs, especially in 2020, was a heavy metal game called Merkborry, and that book is just out of its fucking mind. So I am very, very partial to things that look very slick and very cool and who break visual rules and stuff like that. But that being said, there are also some really good games that they weren't put together by a professional layout artist and a graphic designer, but the game itself is just so compelling and so creative and so avant-garde. Like, it doesn't need, fancy painted pictures of dragons or anything like that. Like, once you really get into it, like, the system itself will compel you to move forward and try to get this game to a table. So I'm right there with you, but I also can definitely accommodate the other side.
This may or may not be one that's on the list. I think, we definitely want to have you back again. So this won't be your only shot at it, but
hooray!
Yeah, man. Well, let's do this. Here's a question. What's on the game table these days? It could be something from this list or not. What are you playing right now and why?
The next thing I've got coming up is a game of Beefy Shotgun Wizards, which I have mentioned to you before. Yeah. And the ash can called the Quick Shot has been released from Dungeons and Hammers. You can find it on itch.io. But full disclosure, I'm Peter's editor on that, but I absolutely love how gonzo and insane this game is. The premise is that you're a D&D style wizard who has a Vancian magic system where you get a certain number of spells per day, and you're in the middle of a dungeon and you're out of spells, and all you have left is your fists and a shotgun. And that is the premise of Beefy Shotgun Wizards.
I smell Ralph Bakshi around here somewhere.
Yes. I think there could definitely be some influence on the writer Peter's side, but the artist, Daniel Harilla Carlson, I think he and I have talked about Bakshi before, and he was definitely influenced by Bakshi.
Bakshi's amazing. Just for no reason other than I was bored and it was free on YouTube. I watched American Pop, all of it, which was his movie about the 3 generations of men from World War II to the 80s. It's a multi-generational rock and roll saga. And I've never seen a director whose work is so repellent and so inspired, all in the same scene.
Mm-hmm.
every third scene, he just creates a fucking disaster in story making. You cannot take your eyes off them. They're still just sweeping and full of emotion, even when they're fucked up.
Yep.
And of course, you got that signature way that they draw and make people move. That I don't know. I was a kid in the '80s, and I used to rent The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings just because that was the only way you could look at The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings in 1986. Well, speaking of games that turn on their head, let's go all the way, baby. You want to pick track of the week?
Oh, Jesus, really?
Why not?
Okay, yeah, I've got one.
So I don't know when this segment ended or the next one started. So if you just heard Walt, it took him all of 3 seconds to say, yeah, he's just going to ride with us for the whole episode and come on and select our track of the week in just one moment.
I kicked it, yup, I kicked it. Come on, you couldn't bang with this if your name was Genghis Khan.
And we're back. Walt, you said right away with alacrity that you were going to pick track of the week. All it has to be is a hip-hop song or hip-hop adjacent. Adjacent. Nice. Adjacent. And
the adjacent is where you listen to the hip-hop adjacent sounds, when you're living under your mom's house.
Yeah, that's a strictly underground sound, boy. So, yeah, man. So, Walt, I give you the floor. What's our track of the week?
All right, cool. So the track of the week is Feather by Nujabes, who was a Japanese jazz artist who worked with hip-hop lyricists from all over the world. And it is off his, I believe, second studio album, Modal Soul. And it features the two frontmen from a group called CYNE. The reason this leapt to mind immediately is because I've loved this song for over a decade. I found out just a couple of days ago that both of these dudes are from my adopted hometown, which was really, really cool to find out. But the whole song is just about basically just staying optimistic in the face of adversity. And it has one of the greatest lines in music I think I've ever heard, which is, I'm just a vagabond with flowers for Algernon, an average Joe who knows what the fuck is going on. And that line, for whatever reason, is just always stuck with me. The song is Feather. The artist is Nujabes, Nujabes.
Light as a feather when I'm floating through, reading through the daily news, measuring the hurt within the golden rule. Centimeters of ether, I'm heating the speaker. Motivational teacher with words that burn people. Singing the headlines, line with discord. It's either genocide or the planet in uproar. Never good. The rules in paradise are never nice. The best laid plans of mice and men are never right. I'm just a vagabond with flowers for Algernon, an average Joe who knows what the fuck is going on.
And so there you go. We did Feather by Nujabes, which was completely new to me, and which Walt just helped us hear. So thank you, Walt.
Oh, my pleasure. I hope everybody enjoyed it.
Absolutely. And if they don't, the fuck them. Anyway, so what do we got? It's pushing 6 o'clock in Florida. What's up for your holiday weekend?
Not a whole lot. As always, I've got a little bit of work to do, but my dad's birthday is on Sunday, so I'm going to go visit him. And Dad, if you end up listening to this, happy birthday in advance.
Happy birthday, Pops. That seems like a good note to end this one on. I'm going to thank once again Walt from Līber Lūdōrum, all-around dude, writer, craftsman, comedian, and good drink extemporizer.
Just want to say thank you very much for letting me be on the show and just talk about indie games.
Absolutely. And I think, before the summer's out, I'd like to, again, this time, your choice, please. Do not let me interfere because I'll only pick the slick ones. Is talk about another one from your under-heralded RPG list and give you the floor for that one too. So we're going to do this again, my man.
Excellent. I look forward to it.
Awesome. Until then, Walt, like we say always, may you fight long and well.
May you fight long and well.
When they hit you, lift you off the earth like, hey yo, take you right back to earth, and niggas want